This is a Mr. Fowles video about titles. Not honorific titles per se, but titles of literary elements referred to in our own writing. And just kind of get started with a little bit of bell work here. You can have a look at that. Each sentence has one error. Can you identify it? Look at it a minute, pause if you'd like, and then I'm going to give you some hints. So the first hint is that every sentence has a title in it, title of something else. The first one is hoot. Here, you can maybe see my mouse moving over it. Hoot is a title. And then the second title is local man saves endangered goose. That's a title. And then the third one is hello, goodbye. That's a title. And the fourth one is the commercial appeal. That's a title. Two of these will be marked one way and two another. And go. Notice that the first one, hoot, became italicized. Local man saves endangered goose got quotation marks around it. Hello, goodbye got quotation marks around it. And the commercial appeal got italicized. Now, I didn't use an underline in here, but we're going to talk about underlining as well. There's, in fact, what we're going to be talking about. Italics, underlining, and quotation marks. All very fun. Yep. And here's basically what we're talking about. Italics are words that are kind of slanted to the side, as you can see. Now, that is really hard to do in writing. So when we're writing, we use underlining, which, if you couldn't kind of figure that out, using a line underneath the words. Here are my words. And then underneath is a line. Under, line. Then quotation marks are these little double marks on either side. Here, it's a double mark. If you're on a computer, you have to press Shift and then the key that's next to the enter. You get a quotation mark. So we use these when we're talking about other writing in our writing. When we want to talk about how what somebody else said or what somebody else wrote, or some other literary element. It doesn't even have to be a piece of writing. It can be a movie, or a song, or a poem, or a newspaper article. And it's important to note here that italics and underlining work the same way. At the end of this, I'll show an example of a written work underlining, I suppose. But when we're typing on a computer, we prefer to use italics. It's easier. But when we are writing by hand, we don't try to do italics. It would just look funny. So instead, we underline to show what we're talking about. And I got some examples here, but I only used italics in my examples. Italics and underlining. When you're talking about a book, magazine, movie, or any substantial literary work, this has got to be something long, a full, complete item. A book, or a movie, or the name of a newspaper, or the name of a television show. Hoot is a book, Hamlet is a play, Horton Hears a Who is a book, Avatar is a movie, The Commercial Appeal is a newspaper, Mona Lisa is a painting. You can actually apply the same rule to the name of a painting. So we don't use these for short things. This is only for substantial literary works. I've got some examples coming, at the end. Well, even if we go back here. We read Hoot last week. And you italicize it in order to show that that is a substantial literary work. And then I read The Commercial Appeal today. It shows that these three words are part of the title of the thing that you read. It's using quotation marks and italics and underlining are ways of showing the complete title of something that you want to talk about. Because if you didn't have that, only the fact that these words are capitalized, do you understand that is something meaningful together. If they were not capitalized, it would look like I read the commercial appeal today. And that doesn't really give much information. It looks like you read the appeal commercial as some sort of adjective. You don't know if today is part of the title. It's very confusing. But when you change that to, I read the commercial appeal today, you get a much better idea of what you're talking about. Quotation marks we use to refer to short works, short stories, newspaper articles, book chapters, songs, or TV episodes, not TV shows. Man, The Raven is a great poem. It's a phrase you hear very often in middle schools. And The Raven is a short poem, no matter what kids like to say. It's actually quite short. So we use quotation marks. Let Me, it's a country song, and it's a song title, so we put it in quotation marks. And a chapter in a book about how to be a good middle schooler, for example, could be How to Get Good Grades. And since that's a chapter, we would use quotation marks. Not italics, not underline, quotation marks. Sometimes you can have TV shows, TV episodes in the same sentence, or a book and a book chapter. So you have to, this is where you can kind of really see if you know what you're talking about. My favorite Star Trek, which is a TV show episode, is Amok Time. The debate is on for how to pronounce that. Star Trek is the name of the TV show, but the episode is Amok Time. My favorite chapter in Freefall, which is a book that does not exist, is Going Nowhere. Assuming that the book chapters are titled, you can say that. Going Nowhere is a chapter, so you can put it in quotation marks. And then, like in our bell work here, my favorite article in today's newspaper is Local Man Saves Endangered Goose. And to give you a more holistic example, we can say, I read the commercial appeal today, comma and coordinating conjunction. My favorite article was local teacher makes awesome videos. That would be about me, of course. So you can see how that works. So if you have something short, we use quotation marks. For something long, use italics or underline. Quotation marks, of course, are these things. When you do them on a computer, you get these groovy little, they kind of curl over here and curl over here to show that it's encapsulating something. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of fun. Some fonts do it, some don't. And that's it for a very short introduction to quotation marks, italics, and underlining. Thank you. Okay, and now just to show you how this kind of plays out when you're handwriting, I've got "We read Hoot yesterday." Now I can't really italicize that, but I can underline it. Now, of course, you would not use a different colored pen to do this than a regular piece of writing. And then the second one, my favorite article in the New York Times was Revolution in the Middle East. Now, I tricked you here because we have to do both kinds of titles, and I just want to show you how easy it is to do this. First, I'm going to have to identify which of these is the title of a longer work, in this example, the name of a newspaper, and which is the name of the article that was in the newspaper. So, clearly, the New York Times is the name of the newspaper. So that gets an underline. And then quotation marks around this article. If you have a quotation mark at the end of a sentence, you put your end punctuation inside that quotation mark. Look how that period just is inside the quotation marks. It's strange, but it's true. Ending punctuation goes inside your quotation marks. It's hard to grasp, but you'll do fine. All right, just wanted to show you what that looks like in writing.